Hello, everybody. This is Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's my weekly update on my sample trading portfolio coming up next. Hi, everybody. Welcome back. Another week, another busy week. Just a quick catch up, basically. For me, the biggest things happened for me on trading personally is gold. Gold, for some reason, I do not know what has got into it. It just last couple of days or so just go up and up and up, and now it's around the 1650 mark around the area. So it's been quite a shock. The initial height of around 1610 when Iran was one of the Iran general was killed, assassinated by the U.S. And the sudden surge of gold prices in early at the start of the year. So in January it's been surpassed, and then it just continue. And the price basically of gold is just moving up and up. So for the past week, it's been making quite a bit of money for me. If you listen to my previous podcast around looking ahead into 2020, one of my main things I look at was gold, and I'm still looking at it. And I built quite a bit of a base around the 1450 mark, around the 1500 mark, and basically just waiting. So one of my core holding, yes, definitely is gold. Silver, on the other hand, is also moving up as well, not as much. Mainly, I suppose, is because silver has a lot of industrial use as well, and slow down in around the world with the trade happening. Problems between U.S. and China, and around the world slowing down. It does have a detrimental effect on silver. So it's not moving as much, but it does move up. So those are basically gold for me. Is basically big thing for stuff. The other thing that sort of happened is the coronavirus in China seems to have stopped somehow. It's getting better. But unfortunately, South Korea and Japan seems to be getting worse, and especially in South Korea, a lot more people got detected. And then suddenly, last couple of days, Italy, I think, got 3 deaths now for the last few days, and it's worrying because the one in Italy, apparently, they're having some of the people went to China, came back to Italy, and then tested negative. So somehow, this virus is somehow spread in Italy is worrying. I just wondering, is it because of the testing of the virus carrier is not as good, or is it because you have done some sort of airborne, the virus going around? It's just really worrying. So I just hope that this virus will be stopped quickly in Europe. Otherwise, there will be a lot of worries as well. I mean, China has already been shut down. I think Italy is stopping some of the towns, people going out as well, similar to what is happening in China. And if that spread in Europe as well, it's already a slowing market in general with Brexit happened, and as negotiating for the next 11 months or so so its terms to pull out of EU. Things are already slowing in Europe. With Italy getting hit like that, it will be even worse. And probably the euro dollar against the yen, against the US dollar, is basically gone down. Euro against US dollar, but it have try to recover a little bit, but it's been down a bit more. And the news of coronavirus doesn't help at all as well. And the other things to report on, basically, to me, basically, is some apparently Washington Post have basically reported that a Swiss company, it's basically called, I think it's called Crypto AG. It's been selling encryption devices to different countries so they can decrypt and encrypt the messages, secret messages and stuff. But apparently CIA is the secret owner and has been listening on. So I mean, for me, this is not news, basically, because we know for a few years back, Edward Snowden already told us, that the CIA and U.S. government listening on other countries, spying on them. Noticeably, German Chancellor Angela Merkel's phone was hacked. They were listening on her phone to find out what the European doing with the trade and so forth. Some secret stuff, and so that has been reported 2 years ago. So now it should come out with a bit more news to say, well, the U.S. has means to actually hack other people. Communication as well, because through this crypto AG company in Switzerland, basically selling devices around the world. So CSI at the back, just in the background, just listening in, and then now the basically just a bit more news coming out. So that's basically it really for this week. I just personally feel, that the biggest things for me is basically gold, and also the crude oil. Also worth mentioning, has been recovering a little bit as well, but like my other podcast has said, I do not think the crude oil will go anywhere very fast. There might be some cuts with the OPEC people, but unfortunately I don't think it'll help much, because the world trade is slowing down. Not just to mention the US and China has trade issues, now also have the coronavirus to slow things down, and outbreak in South Korea and Japan, and now in Italy. So I think the economy is going to slow a bit more, somewhat. So the recovery is welcome as far as I'm concerned, but I don't think it will go too far. Basically, that is my take for this week. Next will be my update of my sample portfolio. Okay, first off the bat is Apple. Apple this week now, short term has basically gone down, and I think finally people get on kind of with the news that China is coming back to work, but it's not going to be as good as quick. I mean, Apple CEO Tim Cook to come out to say the estimate for next quarter will be lower than expected, and I think that people took it on a stride before, and then slowly now realize a bit more that is more than just more worries coming. Simply because you have seen what's actually happening in South Korea with the spread of virus, and also Japan, and started to worry a bit more. So Apple seems to have taken the brunt of the downturn in America basically first, and so short term wise is a sell, medium to long term is still a buy. Amazon seems to be doing well, and short, medium, and long term is a buy, so that's good. Australian dollar, same as last week. Australian dollar against US dollar is sell across the board, so nothing changed here. Crude oil, like I said earlier, it has moved up a bit now. So Brent crude, short term is a buy, medium and long term still a sell. Same thing for the US crude, TWI, and short term is basically a buy as well, and then long term and medium term still a sell. Next is DAX, similar to what has been for like Amazon is up more or less and staying there since last week or last couple of weeks as well. So short term, medium term, and long term are buy. Dow Jones been quite a bit of volatility coming up last week or so, and it has been coming down a little bit. So it basically just shows up in the Apple trade. So short term is still a buy, but medium term change to neutral now. Long term is a buy. FTSE in the UK, short term is a buy, but long and medium term is neutral. So it's following similar footstep to Dow Jones America. Gold, I said earlier, short, medium term, long term is still a buy. One of my core holding, and I'm very thankful it just suddenly gone up. Don't know much about why it's just gone up so much. And I presume this also, on the other hand, if you look at gold, one thing I forgot to mention is look at the US dollar index. It's gone up to, I think I was looking at it, it's gone up to 99.7, 99.8, almost on the 100 mark. And that's not good news in general as well to the American economy, basically because US dollar is so strong, that means whatever US try to sell to the world is too expensive, especially to Asia. Asian countries, currency has been weakened a lot due to the coronavirus, and American dollars keep going up. So it's not going to be very competitive for the U.S. Companies. That's as far as I understand and concerned. And then the other thing is what is driving the increase in the U.S. dollar. I'm not sure. I think maybe people there's a lot of money going around the world, and they just want to go into the funds, the treasury bonds, so to speak. And what I heard and read from the Chinese media, basically they're saying that in America, not just the government bond has been, bought up quite a lot by people around the world in America as well. Even the junk bonds, the triple B's one, that is supposed to have very, not as good as a government bond. Lower rating is still being snapped up quite a lot. So I think there's something's going on in the bond market over there. Everybody somehow just doesn't really care about the risk or something, just going in the bond market as if the market in general, the share market, the stock market in general, there's something wrong, something's going to happen. So I'm not quite sure what's going on, but definitely the US dollar strength is not helping US company at all. And we shall see what the effect is later on. After that is a Hang Seng index. Short term is a buy, medium long term is neutral. The coronavirus in China seems to have slowed down a bit, but in Hong Kong still worrying. Of course, other parts of Southeast Asia as well. So short term is trying to recover, but I think it get dragged down. But at the end of the day, I just have to follow my trading system. My short term system say short term is a buy, but long medium term is neutral. Next is Nasdaq. I think is been dragged down by Apple more or less. So short term is basically a sell. Medium long term is still a buy. So it's very much Apple. So I would say this: you want to look at the U.S. market to check where it's actually going. I think two things which my portfolio tracks is really Apple and Amazon. I think these two companies. I mean, Apple is very big and is basically probably the leader in most fields, and probably is going to lead the way in America stock market. So I would say if you watch out Apple, then you can more or less see what the general market will looks like in the US. So watch it. Next is basically is Nikkei in Asia. Short term is a sell, medium to long term is neutral now. Silver, short term is a buy, just like gold, but medium term is neutral, long term is still a buy. So a bit of the gold movement rub off to the silver, but it's not as good as gold yet. So we just have to wait and see. Next is US dollar against the Chinese yuan. Short term is moved to a buy now, and medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. Basically on this one, I basically have been saying quite a bit as well. China is basically the Chinese dollar should be quite weak, weakened especially by the virus, and it's not producing anything, and for the past 2 months now more or less, and just basically buying stuff around. So the economy is more or less stopped. Probably be lucky if we even get 20% output done before. So it's more or less down 80% or 70% kind of thing in a lot of areas. And the Chinese yuan is definitely coming down, and that's no surprises for me as far as I'm concerned. And basically just let the market do its things. Next is US dollar against Japanese yen. Short term, medium term, and long term is a buy. Lately, I think for last week or so, there is one of the worrying news from Japan was that the trade figure from the last quarter 2019, is not doing well. It's basically shrink about 6% or 6.3 or some percent. So it's quite a lot, and especially. Japan is third biggest trading market in the world after China and after US. So US number 1, China number 2, Japan is number 3, and Japan is shrinking, and that is reported back end of 2019, before the virus effect actually happened. I would say if that's the case, then it's not going to bode too well for Asia in general, because with the virus actually happening first quarter 2020, of course affect China a lot more. Then I think it also affect Japan quite a bit as well, being its manufacturing base. A lot of its products is sourced from China, so it's going to slow down even more. So that is why you see the Japanese yen is weakening against US dollar. So basically, you can buy a lot more yen per US dollar at the moment. That's why it's buy, and it's good for Japanese product output, saying the outside world, but the economy is definitely not doing well. That's definitely also weakened the currency as well. So watch out, Japanese market might not be doing as well, and Nikkei could well be a sell. Next is British pound against the Japanese yen. Because of the weakening of the Japanese yen, so short term is a buy, medium term is neutral, long term is a buy. So that's British pound against Japanese yen. Next is British pounds against USD. Short term is a sell, medium term is a sell, long term is neutral at the moment. Last but not least is Bitcoin. Short term now has changed to sell. Medium and long term is still buy. Now I've been tracking this one and buying it, so I have to sell on the short term account, which I basically track myself, and I have to sell it. But from my gut feeling, unless we see a 200 days moving average or 50-day moving average is being broken down the long-term system, I think there could still be a chance for it going back up. So just have to wait and see. If the market in general is not going to do well, not doing well, because look at the China effect. America seems to brushing it off without any issue, but I think slowly American, so as the European markets going to realize the knock-on supply chain effect is going to come, and it's going to fail in America as well. So slowly people will basically, this I think one of the reasons why people go to gold and corporate bonds and stuff, but I think also Bitcoin probably get a bit of uplift on that as well. But we just have to wait and see. But like I said last week, there is a downward trend line coming down, and the stop is advancing. I think after 10,500 or something, or 10,800, it came back down. So now it's around 9,800 or something. But as far as trend following is concerned, we don't really care about a trend line, really. All we want to look at is the price and look our equation sets in trend following, and the equation basically says short term is a sell, medium and long term is still a buy. So I will just follow that. But from what I see, basically I just trade what I see. We just have to basically see what's going to coming next. If the 50 days and 200 days moving average also is broken by the price, then I think there's more downside for Bitcoin. But who knows? At the end of the day, trend following is we find a trend and we just follow. Short-term trend is a sell, so I just got to follow it. Medium and long-term trends, you say a buy, I follow it. So this is what you get. Sometimes it depends on what type of trend following system you have. Short-term, medium, long-term, they might have absolutely opposite signals coming out. And what are you gonna do? As far as I'm concerned, I'm trusting my system. I got 3 separate accounts to trade these 3 different systems, and at the end of the day, I just want to take an average of it. So I basically have to follow each of the systems trading signals and then buy or sell according to that. And that's what trend following is. So basically, this is the end of the update, and I hope you like it. And I'll speak to you next week. Bye for now.